Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel if you're new. And, we're just gonna get right into it, because I love getting right into it. So, we continue our story with Deku waking up, making him a bowl of ramen, with some eggs and some pork. He likes waking up to a big breakfast. So, Deku eats all of it, and sees a text from All Might. In between parts, they exchange phone numbers. And it says he'd like to meet them after class to discuss more matters on his quirk and the person that he thinks he's related to. Which Deku has been talking to All Might about who he could be related to, because All Might clearly thinks he's related to someone, so Deku wants to know who. And so, after Deku sees that, he goes to school and gets told that they're going to the USJ by Aizawa. He's excited because, cool, new field trip. He loves learning. And so he goes and meets up with his friends Ida and Ochako, and sees a blonde-haired kid being really aggressive towards this red-haired kid, Bakugo and Kirishima. Remember, this timeline, Deku doesn't know who Bakugo is. Deku thinks he's annoying, because he probably isn't all that, is he? So after Deku, found him annoying, they all got into the bus, and everyone discussed whose quirk is the strongest. Ochako immediately blurts out Deku. Without anyone else trying to argue, the conversation ends with Bakugo yelling that there's no way he's that strong, that you guys all think he's that strong. I bet I could beat him easily. Everyone goes dead silent looking at Bakugo. Bakugo, annoyed, scoffs and lays back. And Deku giggles, knowing they're right. So after they get to the USJ, they're being explained on how quirks can be dangerous by the black hole lady. And everyone's like, it's cool. Ochako tells Deku that this is her favorite hero, and she's gushing right now. And so, after all that, the villains show up. And the villains are walking through the portal, and Deku's shocked, so why wouldn't he? And Aizawa jumps down to go fight them all. Deku stays up there like Aizawa asked, because he's not bold. He knows the best place he can be right now is next to his friends. And so when Kurogiri shows up, Deku charges up an air cannon. His quirk, his hand mutates into a cannon and he shoots air. Ochako almost vomits because how gross it was. But Deku air cannons Kurogiri, distorting his, fog. So Kurogiri has to shoot them just a couple of Class 1A off the stairs. Not including Deku, of course, because, he's the one that shot him. So Deku's hand mutates back, and Deku immediately goes for Kurogiri's quirk, because that would be extremely useful right now. But Kurogiri dips out before Deku can touch him. Mind you, he doesn't know that Deku has All for One, but he's like, I'm not getting shot with air again. So he dips back to Shigaraki, telling Shigaraki such that he got cooked, and Shigaraki gets mad, and Kurogiri explains who the kid looks like, and Shigaraki tells the Nomu to kill that kid when they see that kid. So Nomu keeps that in mind, and Deku, decides he'll go help his his classmates that are scattered. So he flies around, taking out all the villains that have been taking out his friends. Like, it's All For One. You already know what he's doing. He's landing, snatching some quirks, destroying some gravel to telekinetically throw it at people, and mind-breaking someone. If you're wondering what that means, it basically destroys their mental state, and that's what mind break is. Deku will never use this ability again. Anyways, Deku eventually goes to Korigiri, Shigaraki, and the Nomu, which the Nomu takes into who that is, swings on Deku immediately. Deku gets punched on purpose to grab the Nomu's hand to absorb his quirk. Deku absorbs the quirk, thinking it's the only quirk. He got, like... If you're wondering what the quirk was, it was... let's say it's speed. So it's slow. It's really slow now. So Deku starts outpacing the Nomu, thinking the Nomu is weak now. But the Nomu punches Deku straight in the gut, making him Deku cough out blood. Deku is shocked because it's like one of the first time he's ever actually taken damage. So Deku slams into the wall, in pain. But, you know, he has a regeneration quirk, so he regenerates. Oh, by the way, that punch, yeah, it blew a hole through him. He has a hole through him. That punch was so hard, it blew a hole through him. And so Deku regenerates it and takes the Nomu a bit more seriously. So he sends out his tentacles, which shock both Shigaraki and Korigiri, because that's one of All For One's main techniques. And so Deku stabs the Nomu a buttload, which, again, Korigiri and Shigaraki are shocked he's using more than one quirk. So they immediately assume, yeah, this guy's All For One, or he has All For One's quirk. Which makes Shigaraki tweak, thinking All For One already gave this kid the quirk. So Shigaraki rushes Deku, no mind to his safety, and is about to get Deku with the Nomu about to punch him, when Deku sends out his wind quirk again. But this one's, it's a different kind of wind quirk, where he channels his energy and then expels it, shooting them back. But Deku lunges at the Nomu first, grabbing the Nomu by the throat, then snatching and sucking as many quirks as he can get out of the guy, which is all of them, which actually reverts the Nomu back to its original state. And then Deku just drops the Nomu. It's a guy now. And Deku uses the super strength to break Shigaraki's arm, then break his nose, then toss him towards Kurogiri. Actually hitting Kurogiri and sending him back. And before Deku can kill both Kurogiri and Shigaraki, Snipe shows up and starts shooting Kurogiri and Shigaraki, which stops Deku because the pro heroes are here and he doesn't want to get in trouble. So reluctantly, he chooses not to kill them. So Shigaraki and Kurogiri leave, informing All For One that the kid, well, kind of informing him, kind of not. Shigaraki asks All For One why he gave his quirk away, which All For One is actually shocked by, but mask it with his, you know, intelligence, and asks Shigaraki who this kid was. He said the kid looked almost exactly like him when he was younger, which puzzles All For One and makes him want to look into this kid, because he doesn't know that that's his son. Yeah, big reveal. Obviously, All For One had Deku with Inko, and Inko died after All For One killed her, thinking the kid would usurp him. Kid survived, so whoopsie. So after that, um, Deku gets a week off. And he uses that week off to work on the quirks he got gained from the USJ, which is the shock absorption, the super strength, and super speed. And this one quirk he got where he could send out daggers from his hands. And yeah, that's it. After the week, Deku decides he'll use some non-lethal quirks. Obviously. He obviously gained some quirks after killing a bunch of villains because he's a vigilante. And so after that, we get to the sports festival. And the sports festival starts with, they're running. So Deku gets in line and waits for the bell to ring, when he uses the Nomu's super speed to outpace every single person there and get first place. Because that Nomu was so fast, dog. It was blitzing All Might. That's how fast it was. So obviously, Deku's winning. He went so fast that he actually tumbled a bunch of guys and flew them in the air. So after, the whole winning the race, everyone's shocked Deku went that fast. So they give him even more points than in the original. They gave him 20 million points. So everyone immediately doesn't want to be on his team. But Deku says that's alright, because he has a trick up his sleeve. And Deku sends out some rocks that he had in his pocket. He had three rocks, and they all grew into human beings. And some of these guys have stick-looking body parts. One has a cannon on his wrist. One is bigger and beefier than the other ones and has a ram head. And one has like a cannon on its face. And it also has power source on its head. And if you couldn't guess, Goat Guy is supposed to be superhuman. Cannon Guy is supposed to have the wind quirk. And the Cannon Guy is supposed to shoot projectiles. So Deku gets on top of the guys. And everyone just says, okay, this works. So everyone immediately targets Deku. Actually, everyone targets Deku. Everyone just ignores everyone else and just targets him. And of course, Deku being so strong, it's legit impossible to get the bands. But some people actually take it from him sometimes, but Deku immediately takes him back with the Wind Guy. Because the Wind Guy can shoot out air and suck in air. So he can suck people in. So he sucks the guy on top of the guys, takes all of their tags, and pulls them off. And then pushes them to the ground, disqualifying the team. And then he takes all their tags. But, of course, he loses all of those and keeps his 20 million. So, he starts with 20 million, ends with 20 million. Chu, Baku, and Todoroki did their best, but nothing can really outpace Deku. Because he has All for One, which is overpowered in the My Hero Academia-verse. So, we continue. To the, fights. And All for One not All for One. But Deku versus Shinzo happens. Deku air cannons him directly out of the ring in an instant. Because Ojiro told him that he didn't feel like himself, and Deku immediately knew what this was. Because he also has a mind control quirk called Mind Break, where he just looks at you with his glare, and your brain just becomes his, and he can just knock you out, make you punch yourself, or hurt yourself, really. Anyways, Deku air cannon Shinso out of the ring, shocking everyone, and everyone booing because that was boring. But Deku shrugs and just goes to grab Shinso's hand, but Shinso smacks it out of him and walks away. Because, Shinso wanted to be part of the hero course, and Deku just completely flunked that entire idea from him. And, yeah. And so, yeah, that happens. Deku then, goes to his next match after meeting Endeavor, getting irritated at him, and he stamps a rock guy on him. It's a little one. So the little guy grows and actually lightly breathes air into Endeavor's eye, so he gets annoyed. Looks a little Knievious, That's not a word. Anyways, Deku goes to his next match, which is Todoroki versus him. And Todoroki, in this timeline anyways, decides there's no way I'm beating Deku with just my ice quirk, so fire quirk. So yes, in this timeline, Shoto uses both his eyes at the beginning, actually catching Deku off guard because he didn't know Todoroki had both ice and fire. And this actually starts to overwhelm Deku a bit because he can't use any of his lethals. Because he has a lot of lethals and not a lot of non-lethals. And so Deku gets overwhelmed and is about to get pushed out of the ring when he decides he's not holding back anymore, slams the ground, destroys the whole ground, and breaks every ice thing, and it has so much impact that it actually pushes away fire. Deku sprints towards Todoroki, charges an air cannon, punches into Shoto, and tries to blow him out the ring. But Todoroki isn't going out like that, so he makes an ice thing, makes him twirl back, and he immediately shoots a massive fire cannon at Deku, actually burning him, like he starts to get scars, but he heals them. And Todoroki says sorry. Deku says no problem. So Todoroki starts just firing ice and fire at Deku, and Deku counters it with wind quirk and his water quirk. It was from a guy who was primarily made of water. After he killed him, the guy started drooping away, but Deku absorbed the entire guy into his being. And this does show everyone that Deku has all for one, of course. Anyways, the fight continues. Todoroki and Deku are basically trading blows, and Todoroki decides that since Deku can heal, why doesn't he just go all out? And so half the arena gets covered in fire, making everyone sweat, and half the arena becomes cold, being cold. And Deku, seeing this, decides, alright man, I'm gonna hit you with my own thing, and charges every single quirk he's acquired so far into this one attack. It's not as powerful as All for One's, but it's strong. And so he shoots it out, clashing with Todoroki's ice and fire beam, and then it kabooms, blowing Deku back and Todoroki back, slamming Deku to the ground, sliding him across the ground, and we get a closer look at him, with his body being half completely frostbitten straight through, and half of it being scorched straight off, with bones showing. But before anyone can see him, he regenerates all of that, so it just looks like he took minor scratches. And then Deku gets up, brushes over the deck to Todoroki to see if he's alright. And he's kind of alright. Todoroki has a broken arm, a broken leg, and a missing tooth. Just one. So Deku, heals all that, except the tooth, because he can't do that. So Deku takes him out of the wall, and Deku's declared the winner, because Todoroki was out while Deku was perfectly fine. By the way, they were like, yeah, let's just not count ring outs now, because there's like no ring at all. So they take a bit of an intermission, with Deku taking Todoroki to the hospital. I mean, not hospital, nurse room? Whatever. With All Might showing up, asking Deku if he would like to talk now. With Deku saying sure. All Might says that ever since Deku has healed him, he's been able to do much more hero work. And he thanks the heavens that Deku showed up, or he probably would have been just completely stopped hero working by now. And Deku says no problem. So All Might and Deku have a conversation on who All Might suspects his dad is. And All Might says he suspects his dad is All For One, considering they have the exact same quirk. Which Deku wants to know more about this guy, see who he is, really. So All For One All Might explains that the guy was a dictator and only let people live in peace if he'd let them take their quirk, or give them a quirk. That's really All For One's ideal. Which Deku thinks that most people don't really want their quirks. Most people he's run into don't really want quirks. Most quirkless people, he elaborates. But All Might explains that the reason he knows about All For One is that he has One For All. And Deku's just asking, that's just an inverse? That's the whole thing. And then All Might explains the lore of One For All, how it came from All For One's brother, and how it passed on all the way to him. And All Might knows he's aging, and he knows all that, and All Might's looking for a successor, which he doesn't tell Deku, but he's also thinking he could be the successor. But Deku doesn't know that. But Deku says that's cool. And tells All Might that a good candidate could probably be Bakugo. And Deku mostly just brings him up because he actually did pretty well against him in the cavalry battle and the race. Because he actually looked behind him for a split second, and Bakugo was right behind him, actually. And in the cavalry battle, he was actually the one that took the band from him. But he didn't fall on the ground, he actually went back to his team. And so, but All Might says that he doesn't really know him, considering they haven't had any conflicts. And so, yeah. And so, Deku and All Might have a bit more conversation until an Inner comes in, Izuku Midoriya, to the battle area. I don't know what it's called. And then Deku says, "They calling me." All Might says, "He'll be watching." And so, Deku walks out there with Bakugo already there, arms crossed in an annoyed fashion, with Deku paying no mind to it, really, telling Bakugo that, "Are you ready?" And Bakugo said, "Born ready." And he gets into a stance, with Deku also getting into his usual stance. But Deku decides to take this a bit more hand-to-hand. And so Baku and Deku rush each other and start swinging and punching each other, with Deku redirecting blast and sometimes taking some blast, but of course he heals them and charges. Sometimes he charges like a rock fist and punches Baku away. Actually, the reason he's been able to deflect stuff is because he has rock hands. Let me re-explain that. Deku put rock hands on him when Baku rushed him, and he started deflecting Baku's attacks. So when Baku was throwing attacks, Deku was deflecting and smacking the explosives backwards. And then Baku changed up the strategy by making Deku redirect the explosion to him, which got Deku in the face. But he heals it before anyone sees his face burned. And then Deku socked Baku in the face, which makes Baku kick Deku in the leg, pushing him back. But Deku uses his air quirk to push Baku away, but Baku clutches himself up. And then Deku breaks off his rock hands and pulls out the blade quirk that we're familiar with now. And so Baku rushes him again, with Deku sometimes cutting Bakugo, not deeply, but like lashes. And then Baku was able to try to blow a hole, not a hole, but blow Deku off of the arena, which pushes Deku back almost out of the arena, which made Baku take this chance and charge a big explosion towards Deku. Almost about to send him out of the ring, but Deku flies up and flies to Bakugo, slamming him into the dirt. Palming Bakugo and picks him up, grabs him by his leg, spins him, and before he can do the full spin, Bakugo twists his hands and blows up Deku's back, destroying his gi slightly in the back region, which makes him tear the whole front part of the gi off. It's not a gi, it's like the training outfits. Now Deku's shirtless, and then Deku wants to even the odds and shoots an air blast towards Bakugo, which is a really big one, which shoots off all his clothes. Not all of his clothes, his shirt too. So then they're just punching each other with, and then Deku decides to just quit with the quirks, and so does Bakugo, and they just start fisticuffing. And of course Bakugo is winning the exchange because Deku has not a lot of experience in fighting, but he wants to learn, so he's trying to fight with no quirks sometimes. Because he feels though, like if there's a guy out there with the same quirk as him, what if he takes all of his quirks and he has to fight alone? So if I can cut that out. Then he wants to, since there's a guy out there that has the same quirk in him, he's afraid that guy could take all of his quirks and he'd have to fight fist hand to hand. So he needs to be ready for that. And so Baku and him are still fisticuffing, but Deku decides to put a bit of oomph into his last punch by enhancing with a strength quirk, punching Baku so hard that he makes like a whole. He gets punched so hard that he coughs out spit, and just like a sharp turn slam to the ground. And then he definitely saw that Deku did that, blowing himself towards Deku, spinning around him, grabbing by his arm, and then slamming him onto the ground. And Deku, wants to end this because it's starting to hurt, and then he just shockwaves himself, using his air quirk, of course, into Bakugo, then flying him at close to the end of the ring. Bakugo knows Deku can tank some stuff, so he just actually leans into Deku, which Deku's confused why he's doing that, and blows up every bead of sweat on him. Hitting Deku so hard in point-blank range, slams him to the ground, destroying all the ground below him, actually making a crater. And Deku decides to take the fall. And he regenerates all of the thing, but he acts like he's out. And Bakugo, thinking he won, inhales and exhales aggressively, and then yells, "I win," in his Bakugo voice. And Bakugo then collapses and goes unconscious. But while the EMPs are about to pick him up, he just gets up immediately without any trouble, and just heals Bakugo with all the internal broken bones and explosives and burns off. So Bakugo's back to full health, but he's still unconscious. And then the ceremonies are held. Of course, Bakugo is knocked out, so he can't really be in the ceremony. But Deku, grabs the medal from All Might and says he'll give it to him. And then Deku takes a camera that they were using to record him for live television, and he walks over to Bakugo's thing, sets up a camera, and then gives it to Bakugo, and smiles at the camera. And then he, turns off the camera. With his technical quirk. The quirk I'm talking about. And then Deku brings the camera back to the people, and they take it and say thanks, because they saw that. So after all that, that's probably where I'm going to leave things right now. We're at Deku's second place, because he wanted to be. And that's really it. Hope you liked the video. Like, subscribe, hit the post notification bells, because I need to say it, or I won't get popular. Anyways, see y'all later.